How's it going?
Good.
Good.
Got my Omnibuild hat on today.
Looking good. You're
Represent.
looking proper.
Well, I had to
Almost-
do some Amazon shirt shopping.
That's an Amazon shirt?
It's Levi.
Ooh, I forget. You can almost get anything on Amazon now. Supposedly you'll be able to get trucks soon.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Little electric trucks.
Oh, electric dump truck?
Yeah. No, maybe. Accidentally. No, I'm kind of maybe wonder if I should button my shirt, but
Nah, you just gotta rock it the way you are, man.
I'm slowly exposing my winter body. I haven't worked it off yet.
You looked really good yesterday with your black t-shirt on, your tats out. Got some footage of you
Oh, good.
talking to the whole crew. It was pretty
Top secret
impressive.
footage. Yeah, we had a large company meeting yesterday. It was great. We used to do them more often, and I think I get so caught up in everything going on at work sometimes that I forget about the little things that are important to people. And it's important to be reminded of that. And luckily, we have a cool enough company where people can be honest. Like I went out to the job site and Justin and Ian were like, well, we had our own small company meeting because you don't do them anymore. And I was like, oh, ouch. I was like, good call. Thanks for the reminder. Let's do it.
Well, that's good that you've got guys in the field, foremen, that want to bring people together to be on the same page, though. Well, even off of your schedule on this side, just knowing that they're staying organized.
Yeah, it shows that they care about their team and the company enough to like want to do that. And we, I'm not saying that we taught them how to be family orientated and all those things, but our model has kind of solidified in our company, like, hey, this is important to communicate and work through things. And it's just a cool thing to see on that micro level out in the field, But yesterday we didn't have such a micro level. We had a large company meeting where I think every employee was in attendance except for one. He was getting a tattoo.
Oh, really?
Which is cool, bro. Do your thing. Like,
yeah.
I'm going to talk to him and kind of fill him in. And one of the things that, we go around, introduce everybody, which it's close to 50 people. You were there. It's a lot. It's a full room. And everybody introduces themselves. And most people say a little bit about themselves. Some people don't. Some people say too much. But then I try to talk about what their role is to the company, just so that everybody understands, like, so that you can kind of find the fastest way to the answers you need. And I think it's important because when you work in a company that, I don't know, some people may consider my company big, some may not. I don't really know where I'm at with it. It feels big to me, but I know there's a lot bigger companies out there for sure. But when you have 50 people, some people don't meet one another until like the Christmas party. And that's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't cross paths on our jobs until a Christmas party. So it feels good to do those meetings. And so we're going to get back on like the quarterly meeting because we try to cram way too much into that meeting, and one of the things that I like to do in that meeting that I think is important is talk about the things that are bothering me or people in the company, so that it's not like directed at somebody just yet, and kind of lay the groundwork for, hey, this is an issue company wide. Like we're talking about it. Like there's too much talking on jobs. Customers don't want to pay for us to have conversations on their job about whatever. And instead of calling out a few people, talk about it in that meeting, give everybody the opportunity to kind of hear what we're saying and then make a change automatically, like based on it. Like there's probably a few people in the meeting who were like, ugh, he's probably talking about me. some of those people that feel that way might not be the person. They might just have a guilty conscience or whatever. Some people might really be the person talking too much and adjust it before we have to go the next level, like writing up or something like that. So,
Or making it personal by confronting and singling out
yeah,
outside of that situation where you're able to just communicate it as a company issue, not like a you problem right away. They get to sort of take that self-accountability, self-reflection.
we kind of talk about some of those issues. Another one was the accountability, to have on the job site because, like I say all the time, for us, it's just another job, kind of. I mean, we put a lot of energy into it. We we enjoy the relationships we build with the customer, but for the customer, it's so much more than that. It is like they've worked so hard for this moment and are putting so much trust. They have no idea. They have some idea. Some have a lot. It's a varying degree, but they really don't know what goes into this. And so that's why they've hired us or how to do it on their own. So they've hired us to pull it off for them, pull off their dreams. And there's a lot of there's a lot around that, and emotions and things like that. And so I want our company to recognize that. And that's something I try to drill home. Like, you're just clocking in and making money and drinking beer or buying dirt bikes or providing for your family or whatever it is you do with your money and doing work and having some fun at work, probably getting job fatigue, burnt out on some jobs. But for these people that are spending hundreds, millions, zillions, billions, trillions on houses, just kidding. I mean, some people might, but you know, it's a really big deal to them. And it's not just about the money, it's an emotional thing. I mean, we have customers that literally know every square inch of their house. They know where furniture is going in their home. They know where they're hanging their pots and pans or their pot rag. So like everything is so critically important. When somebody knows their job to that level, that's the type of job where you have to honor that. Like, you really gotta understand that and not think it's a weird thing. Like, it's actually a cool thing. Like, wow, you're really into this. We're actually building, like, your dream, and we see that clearly because you know every single element of this home, sometimes more than we might even know because they're looking at it as if like I'm gonna hang the picture of my child there, and we don't know that yet, but that's how important that spot is, and that's why that window has to be exactly right because they've done all their own math and asked us to redo it, and we're wondering why. So, I try to tell people pick up on those signs, pick up on little nuances. It's like, Brooke is kind of runs the front lines of the company in the office of fielding calls and things, and she does a great job. And, I'm training her. It's like training to me is kind of funny. It's not like something that you just do for a week and then give a piece of paper to. It's kind of like a lifelong thing between two people when they work together because I'm training myself to learn what from her, and I'm training her to from what I've learned in the past, So there's a two-way street there. And one of the things I told her last week was like, you've got to try to understand who's on the call and ask different questions, like, and that's like vetting out jobs. Like, some people might be fishing for a number. Some people might have watched HGTV and just want a home price. And then we spend a lot of time doing it and they're not even serious at all. Some people are very serious, and so I'm trying to help her as a team figure out the right questions to ask to make sure that it's worth all of our time. Their time, the customer, Brooke's time, the company's time, and it's not that we're just trying to cherry pick the right things. We're trying to pick the ones that um we feel like somebody's serious about that deserves attention. And and I think it's just a little bit about self-preservation. and that way the people that we are choosing, they can get more of our full attention, you know. But yeah, the company meeting was really cool. We also introduced new employees and what their roles are. And then it gives the opportunity for people in charge of finance and this and that to talk about what they need from the crews, and what the crews need from them. So it's just a really good opportunity for everybody to put it out there. It's not like, I don't know. It's like I told somebody yesterday that it's like the meeting that you like. I think of Braveheart with Mel Gibson on the front line with blue plane all over his face, and he's like, "Freedom!" And like everybody gets pumped and goes to war and stuff. And like, I don't think building homes is like war, but it feels like that for me sometimes. Not because of the clients, but just because of the sheer magnitude of what's going on across the board with all the jobs. And so it takes a good plan and a strong leader to kind of rally the troops. And that's kind of was another party yesterday, was getting everybody jazzed up for the year, like got a lot going on. We're going to be doing some camping trips. We're going to, for work, but those kinds of trips are cool. Like if you don't have a bad attitude about doing it and you plan enough with your family so that everybody feels good and we can compensate that, and you open your heart, you never know what you're going to find out there. I did a lot of work on the road throughout the years, and I think some of the richest experience I've ever had came through those. Laughing hysterically with, my partner, crying kind of. Maybe I was laughing so I cried. I don't know, but I don't, so stuff like that is just really, it's a really different type of bonding experience. I'm assuming they'll be cooking out because there's no real place to eat out there. So I'm assuming that they'll do a little bit of that. And I think it could be a good bonding experience. And I'm really hopeful that it is that. And I want to try to provide that. We're looking into housing situations that make sense. So, I think all in all, that was kind of the gist of the company side. And then we also said goodbye to Jody as a company, which was a little tough. She is a very, very good person, one of the best. And, it's like I said in the meeting, it's not like saying goodbye totally because she's still family. If she needs electrical or plumbing, her son's our lead plumber, so that's easy, or any type of anything, we always will answer the call, and be there for her. And so, it was cool to have everybody there and let her say some words. And as she transitions out, I wanted to honor that space. And then we're going to give her some work days as a gift. It was funny. I called her son, Shay, who's just an incredible guy. And he's also our master plumber, and is kind of came up into plumbing in Omnibuild and has done great. And he runs a crew now of 4, and they have 2 vans, and they're just out there slaying work. They are busy. But I asked him, I said, I gotta get your mom something, man, for like this whole graduation. I'm not graduation, retirement or whatever we're calling it. She's not quite retirement age for whatever that means. She may retire. I mean, retirement's whenever you decide to do it, but she I was like, I'm just gonna get her like a Rolex or like a necklace. Or he's like, yeah, I don't think my mom likes that stuff. I was like, cool, good, yeah, you're right, absolutely. And so, and then immediately I'm like, oh, let's get her a kayak. And then I'm like, well, Jody's so cool that she kayaked one day a month for over 7 years and hasn't missed a month. No matter what the weather is, no matter what's going on in her life, she has made a point to kayak down the little river one day out of every month for over 7 years, and I think that is amazing. I am like, that is a very cool accomplishment, like, and just kinda, like, determination and, like, setting a goal and having something that's important to you and really honoring that, and I'm, like, super happy for her. And then when I thought of that, I was like, "I can't get her a kayak because she does it so freaking much." Like, I'll probably get her something she hates, like, it's very specific, and so we're gonna go out and help her on her land, make some roads, make some trails. She's got a new side by side so she can drive around and check things out and do things. And I know how cool that is because Ryan and I have been doing that on our new land. Um, and so it's kind of gonna be our farewell offering, as a company. We're gonna put together some work parties and do some things and we'll see if some people want to help out. But yeah, it was good. And we had a little bit cake, did a company photo, which is always cool to see how they evolve. They do evolve a lot. It would actually be kind of cool to get all the company photos and like show a series of like the evolution. I think we're probably more employees now than we've ever had at one. Well, maybe close. I think at Meadow, when we were building Meadow Creek, we probably had more. But that was a different time. You know, my mom's in town. It's my birthday.
So when is it? Sunday?
Sunday.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna be 22.
Oh man,
This is a good year.
you are in for a wild ride.
I don't know. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I think somebody asked me, if you can go back to any age and like change course, would you? And I was like, I was like, yeah, of course. And I'm like, immediately, I'm like, yeah, because then I would like know the lotto numbers from this time and play them and win, $500 million and be rich but then I was like, well, I don't know if that actually counts. It's not like going back in the future. It's just going back to an age and knowing some of what you know now. And I was like, initially I was like, yeah. And then I thought of the couple things I would change. And I was like, those were really bad moments in my life. Tough. I should say tough. They were bad, tough, emotional, scary. But it's what defined me also. Like I look at the relationships I've created with the people around me, and some of them have been through hard times, and I think that there's some value there. And I can't imagine like moving through life without having to gone through that and not having the relationships that I have now. And so like I don't know if I'd change anything. I think I would keep rolling Hot Thunder and doing what I'm doing. And yeah, I think it. And so when I think back, I'm like, I might not have bought that motorcycle or truck because whatever. But I think truthfully, I I don't think I would go back and change anything.
Does it affect the course of your life now if you change the thing back then?
I would think so.
Yeah, if that's the rule of the game, then
I
it's
watch
like,
Back to the Future, and like anything you change in the past affects the future.
yeah.
So
That's happened in a movie, so that's definitely how it works for sure. But
so I base all my knowledge like
yeah.
yeah.
No, I think that's cool. And back to what you were saying about your employee meeting and Jody, like showing her consistency with what she's done for 7 years. Every month she would do that ride.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's shows in her character too. Like she showed up for herself, but she showed up for the company, and she made it to this point where you guys are sending her off in such a beautiful way, where it's not like see you later, have a nice life. It's like we'll see you later, and we're gonna help you out for the rest of your life because you're family. Yeah. And I think that shows for the people that are new in your company when you're doing these meetings. you're having them introduce themselves and you're talking about all the good things that are coming and the hard things that you have to work through. But then you're also showing love to this veteran of the company as they're leaving and bringing new people on. It gives them this sense of community right out of the gate, but also a sense of like hope for their own potential career. Starting out in a construction company might be
Yep.
intimidating for a lot of people because maybe they don't have much experience or don't know what the path is forward to
Sure.
earning more in a company. And I think that you did a good job with the little time you had to bring everybody together to give them sort of a sneak peek into what a long-term version of working there could be.
Yeah.
And upward mobility in a company that's more than just, swinging hammers at a nail. It's like a real life commitment to be a part of, and
Yeah.
a cool group.
Well, it was really cool afterwards. Like you brought that up. One of my younger employees came up and shook my hand, and he's like, I came here thinking it was just a stepping stone and I wouldn't work here, and now I kind of want to work here for good and figure out what that means. And I was like, that's great. That's a good attitude. That's like that's pretty awesome response after a meeting like that to, you know, that somebody that had the initial, like, this is a stepping stone, I'm not sticking around, to being like, after this meeting, I've decided I'm staying, because they saw the magic, I mean, that's something my friend Sam always says, man, it's all about the magic, and I'm like, what is he talking about, dude? He's crazy. But I think that's what happens after those meetings, you kind of have breakthroughs, many breakthroughs, and I think the people that don't enjoy that meeting, they don't really fit the mold. And they don't, there's been people that come to those that are like, that sucked. What was that? And they're just not getting it. And we're not like shunning them for that. It's just like they haven't got it yet, or they might not get it. I mean, that's the secret. You want to create a place where people want to work. It's not a lot of that around. I mean, it's true. I mean, I think a lot of kids in high school look at excavation and they're like, man, I'm gonna drive a big trackhoe one day and stuff, and that's super cool. There's only so many of those companies, and they're intrigued by the equipment and what you're actually physically doing. But I think the real key to all of it is, and there's nothing wrong with excavation. I think it's cool too. I wish I was driving a big excavator right now, actually. But I love all my excavator friends, and coworkers. But I think the real truth is you want to attract people because of your model of what you're doing. And once you can do that, then it's kind of unlimited. You can do whatever you set your mind to, and it's a little scary at times, and how you deal with that fear is important. You can go and drink and get drunk and try to push cows over in a field, or you could do all sorts of other things to distract yourself from really working through what's in front of you. Or you can work through what's in front of you and be creative and try to find ways through. And kind of what I'm talking about is we're in a moment right now in our company where we're in a growth spurt. We have a lot of work. We have a lot going on. We're in desperate need of management people, and it's one of those things where I could get overwhelmed by it and somewhat stop working, not necessarily full stop, but like distract myself because I can't take the pressure and then not get anything done. And that's when it kind of gets dangerous, or I can buckle down and take the uncomfortable phone call and work through it, because then doors open, and you start picking through little by little, and then doors start opening, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I know what's going on. I see what I need. And that's kind of where me and Courtney have been at. We're in a lot of transition with Jody leaving, two people moving into new areas of kind of the finance zone. Project managers, we've lost 2 in the past little bit that were managing larger scale operations. That was tough because it's like, see ya. And you're like, oh my God, like spend a year working on this. Um, but that's their choice, and I'm not knocking them for doing that. But it puts me in a situation where then I'm like, wow, I have to introduce a client to a new project manager, which shows an instability potentially in a company, you know. Um, I've got to find a new project manager. I have to train that new project manager. And 99% of the time, the project managers we're hiring have never project managed truly before or done at least what we're doing, you know, which we don't even know half the time. We're kind of creating it as we go. So it's just tricky moving through all those situations. And then, I think the ability to stand strong in what's going on around you, you know, sometimes like I talked about my old boss up north, Tom Liguori, and sometimes he would say to me, Jesus, man, I'm in a 6 wall ring of fire. And I was like, whoa, man, what does that even mean? And I was so young and like whatever. And he's just like wide eyed and like, and now I know what it means. It means he's got a ton of people on his email waiting. He's got a ton of phone calls waiting. He's got a ton of customers expecting results. He's got employees expecting paychecks, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
And when you get in there, you kind of just got to look around and make sure that like you understand the situation you're in, compartmentalize, and then start taking it piece by piece. It's like they say that saying, which I forget them a lot, but it's like eating an elephant, which I don't think people really eat those things, but you eat it one bite at a time.
Or a horse?
Horse?
I don't know. You eat a horse, maybe?
No, we can't talk about eating horses. Elephants are okay because we're pretty disconnected from them because they're not here, and we know we would never kill one or eat one. But too many people have horses and might be offended if I talked about
Well,
the saying. I don't know what you're
I'm
talking
offended
about.
actually now that you bring it up. But I do want to give you a little kudos because after seeing you as a business owner stand up in front of 50 plus people that have expectations and have lives of their own and have dreams of their own and also work their asses off for the company, but you stand up there in your 6 wall ring of fire and you give them, it's not all bad news, it's not all good news, it's a lot of both, and you rally them, and I think that puts fire under their ass. It's
Yeah.
only one wall.
Yeah.
And I think you need fire under your ass as an employee. But I mean, as a small business owner, much smaller, I have one employee, and I feel walls all around me, but I don't, maybe I only have 2 walls now that I think about it. But to be able to have composure in those 6 walls, I think is what really defines a good leader. And it's cool to see that, especially in the blue collar, in the trades. It's like, it just gives you hope that these people can have a good boss,
Yeah.
not someone just screaming at them.
Yeah.
And I think when you think of the blue collar world and the construction, you think of the blue collar. You don't think of how there is kind of a white collar part of that that's making it move forward with the project managers. So you started getting into that. And I've been wanting to talk about this for a while because I think your project managers have such a cool role in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people probably think you need to know about construction or be in construction or a builder to be a good project manager. But what do you think makes a good project manager for construction?
Everybody could be a project manager. No, not
Are
necessarily.
you hiring?
Nah, always. Nah, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, that's an interesting thing because I think that I've had it convoluted in my mind for years what a project manager is. And I think through Noah, I've learned a lot about what project management is and isn't. And a lot of the reason is that Noah and me have worked together since the beginning of Omnibuild. And um I mean by nature, I'm like, you're a project manager. And it wasn't like a thing we talked about, is he or isn't he? I mean, it just evolved together. And over the years it was tough, because he wasn't thriving in that role, and it led to a time where we had to take a breather, and we came back and realized that we learned a lot. And I think the biggest thing that we realized is utilizing somebody's strengths. And so in that, I kind of learned, what is it that I really need out of a project manager, and what do I need out of every role? It's not just project management, but we're talking about that at the moment. So I realized that Noah exceeds in working through complicated situations, plans, engineering stuff. He's not an engineer, but working with the engineer and working through complicated details and figuring out what is the best approach to house placement and those things. We call him the omni nerd, but he's really omni science. And that's truly what it is. When you get into like big architectural firms and stuff like that, they do have a building science person that an architect's like, I want to build this floating wall with fish that fly out of it every time you walk past it. They're like, it's a cool idea. I don't know how to do it, so let the building science guy figure it out. Like just obscure, weird stuff. So he's kind of like that for us, and he's great. And now that we've figured out the role, it's amazing and so much better. But going back to project management, what I found in there, that a good project manager needs to know probably 20% about construction and 80% about communication. And I think that is the most critical thing. Now, if you find somebody that's good at communication and good at construction, then you found like the Babe Ruth or whoever the goats are of sports, Michael Jordan and stuff like that. But and they're out there, but a lot of those people run their own companies. So finding somebody that can communicate well and stay on it and pick up the signs of like, I'm going to reach out to my client 2 to 3 times a week because they're trusting us with this really amazing asset that we're building in their life, and beautiful place where they're going to sleep and all sorts of things, raise kids, whatever they're going to do there. Um, and honoring that and reaching out to them to talk when you don't even necessarily have something to talk about, just so that they know that we're taking it seriously. Or find out how much your client really wants to communicate and how, because you might do that. I mean, I've literally had a client say, I want to talk to you once a week, that's it. And I'm like, cool, heard, like, let's go. But I think that a good project manager, I would rather find somebody that's nice, that's professional, that understands enough about data entry and different software types. Like, it's all kind of Excel based, So like if you ever worked in an Excel sheet, you can work in 90% of the software that we use. You know, Keeps up with emailing, will respond to an email on the weekend. Not saying figure it out, but right, no problem, we got the message, we'll be in touch Monday. Because it sucks to spend $1 million on a home and write an email and not get any kind of response, in my mind. At least that's how I would feel. And so finding a project manager that is good at communication, that's professional, that is good with time management, that is thoughtful, that is willing to learn. And those are the things I think is really important. I mean, none of our project managers have ever been a project manager that I know of. Now, we do have a newer project manager that had its own company and was very successful. And I've worked side by side with him for, I'd say, 10 years. I mean, we had offices next to each other and talk shop and did all those things. And so he understands that piece of it And now he's really learning the construction piece, and he's going to be a beast when he gets that piece of it, because he's already got the customer communication side down from his business and management and contracts and all that stuff. It's just once he gets that construction, and he's heading up our commercial division of the company, which was a new thing that we're kind of going after. And so I'm pretty stoked about that. And then we have a very young project manager who graduated from Floyd High School, I would say 4 to 6 years ago. And she worked, I think, in records maybe before. Did a little bit of schooling around design. And, but came in as just very thoughtful on it, gets her work done. She's crushing it, and so I think I think the immediate mindset in work is I've got to find somebody that's already done this, and they can just roll in and just punch a time card and they just are in. And that has not worked for me here. And when I keep trying to put square pegs in round holes, what I end up doing is creating controversy in the company and with my clients. When I bring in a project manager that doesn't have a job, that hey, that's what I've done, or I'm gonna kill this and do good at it and whatever, it creates controversy. And so I've had to evolve over the years and find people, and it's all aspects of the company. I mean, most of my electrical team never did electrical work before they worked here. You know, they all came on and learned it. Most of my plumbing team, same way. Most of my carpentry team there's probably more there that came in with experience. And carpentry is kind of a wide scale thing because a lot of people helped their dad build a shed when they were 8 years old or different things like that. So they have construction experience. So it's tricky to figure that out. And I have been down that road where somebody comes in and has a lot more experience and I put them in charge and I'm like, sorry, you don't have the experience you said you did. And it's tough. It's a tough conversation because I genuinely want to believe in people and kind of accept what they tell me. And then, we've had to be careful how we hire people now, as far as like, hey, we're going to give you a trial basis in certain areas of the company, like 2 weeks. We need to make sure that you can do what you say you can do,
It shouldn't seem like a long time for them. If
Yeah.
they want to work here for a long time, it's 2 weeks trial period, prove yourself, and
Yeah.
be set for life if that's your mentality.
Yeah. I mean, I think setting a goal in your company to find the way to like have people want to stay, it should be a normal thing. I mean, you shouldn't be in business. There's all sorts of people in the world. That's the thing that makes the world go round. So many different attitudes and beliefs and processes and different things like that. And not one is more right than the other or wrong than the other. It's kind of like what works for you. Um, but I think you should want your company to be a place where people want to come work. It's become so computerized, like everything in world. You're just moving through like a robot and you have your phone and your phone and your phone and all these things that I think there's like a disconnect. Like I remember going to we had a little deli in our town and you go in there and everybody knew everybody. And hey Matt, you want your normal bacon, egg, and cheese and stuff like that? And yeah, that's what I want. And you charge it on your family account and stuff. And there was this aspect that those people that worked at that deli enjoyed being there and communicating. And I think there's a little bit of that that's lost. And I think with middle management, I think it's important to figure out ways in upper management to figure out ways to give back to your companies more because you would be surprised how much your production can pick up, you know, if you put a little bit back into it.
What types of ways do you think are good to put back into the company. How do you mean that?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it boils down to money. Um, trying to find creative ways to pay people to take time off because that's a great thing. You know, being able to pay somebody that's in their 20s to take 2 weeks off to do something they want to do and they can go do it with their family and get paid at the same time is a good thing. And I know that it's tough because like I could make 150,000 more a year, or I can have 50 killer employees that are like going nuts, and getting work and providing me with a job where I can sustain my life. So for me, that's unfortunately the way the world has been even before Jesus is based on something along those lines. You got to work to get money. You need money to survive. So it's our mentality.
Well, even after 10 plus years in business, if it's costs you around $150,000 to give benefits to employees,
Yep.
multiply that by 10 for easy math.
Yeah.
That's 1.5 million that you're not taking for yourself.
Yeah.
But you've seen it year over year compound in a different way, whether it's loyalty, trust, or just like better work ethic from the crews. You
Yeah.
must have seen the proof is in the pudding. Otherwise, you wouldn't be giving those bonuses because, like you said, it's about money. It's
Right.
BC. So
Yeah.
how do you make? I mean, you must have like seen something in your experience that's like giving you that incentive. Like you're getting an incentive by
Sure.
spending that money on your employees.
Yeah. I mean, one, it feels good to do it. Um, it it feels good to see people enjoy working here, which leads back to some of those perks. And and so that's the main reason. And it also makes us be able to do the work that we can. Like we can't have the amount of employees that we have if we weren't doing all these types of perks, which there's other ones too I'll get into. Um so that's a big piece of it. If I want to grow, I have to find ways to grow and be creative about it because there's a limited job worker pool here. And then the other thing is like I make a decent wage. I also have a different business that I make money on too. I think a long time ago I realized that I don't need to be making as much money as I possibly could because it doesn't feel good. I want to make enough money to be able to go on vacation with my family and do things that I enjoy doing within my means and enjoy my life and figure it out. But I don't need to make so much money that it makes me be an awful person to work for. And that's a tough internal struggle, that at times when I'm feeling frustrated, I'm like, well, I could just pay everybody less and not do these benefits and do all these different things like that. And then I'm like, well, then what am I going to actually gain from that? Because I get so much from people enjoying working here and getting a lot out of it and watching them thrive and then building pieces, properties for people that they love, that it all is rewarding in its own way. And that I just don't need to make as much as I might have thought I needed to at one point or another in my life. And it feels better to give back, you know? And that's a tricky thing, it's like, I don't really know how to explain it, but it's something that's just been real for me where I'm like, well, I've got $10,000 in my checking account and savings account and that's enough, you know. Um could be a lot more than that, but I'm living within the means that I want to and it works for the system. And that's a tough thing. I got, I almost never left when I went and worked up north around 2008 because there was a recession here and I was closing down my other company and all stuff like that. I was making so much money up there that I almost didn't leave and just succumbed to the fact that I just was like, well, I'm going to make a ton of money. and I can afford to live here and do my thing. And then I started to realize that I was losing track of what was important. I also got punched in the face, literally, in the subway.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Sounds like a story we need to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. I I'll circle back to the employee thing, but no, I mean, I worked in New York City and around the surrounding areas, not as much right in the city per se, but I did do some, and I worked a lot outside, right on the outskirts and stuff like that. And I was on a subway and the subway door opened and literally got punched in the face.
No reason, just point blank.
Well, it's a scam up there, and that's why that place is so crazy, man. They go around punching people in the face saying you stepped on their shoes multiple stops ago, and they want you to give them the money for their shoes that you scuffed, supposedly.
Jeez.
And I'm pretty clear that I didn't step on this guy's shoes, and he's threatening me. So we had an altercation, which was scary because I thought I was going to get killed. And that's what it felt like. I was
Yeah.
fighting for my life. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I put my notice in on my walk back.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was that instant.
Sometimes it takes an experience like that to, I think, have a wake up call to see what's really going on in your life and what's real and what's not and what's important to you. You know, I was talking to my buddy the other day who's journaling, and my initial thought was like, that's corny. And then I was like, no, it's actually kind of cool, I guess, because like at least you can like look at what's going on in you from a different perspective and write about it and then and look back on it. But you know, I woke up, something hit me, well, literally in the face, and then something hit me inside my brain and was like, maybe this is a sign. And I moved back to Floyd and it's been great. I was like, and I started to lose track of what was important. I missed my friends and family here, and I came back and started Omnibuild, you know, and so for me, I think that moment was exactly what I needed, and a little scary, but you know, it happens, I guess, to people in New York City.
What did you take from your experience in New York to come back and bring, whether it's construction experience or leadership experience? What, other than getting punched in the face and being like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here, is it worth it? Like, you must have learned
Yeah,
something.
I think I learned true grit. You know, like it's very cutthroat up there work wise. You know, people will say and do anything to get jobs, which happens here too. Um, and so it's not as often by any means, but I learned how to navigate through that. Um, and so that was a tricky thing because, you know, people were always trying to one up each other and stuff like that. And you have to like, initially, my response was like, you're an a hole, you know, like, and then I started to learn, like, I'm just going to keep working and doing my thing. And then they'll be exposed over time, which they were, you know, instead of trying to expose them for their bad attitude or work ethic or whatever was going on, just kind of letting it be, which up there, that's what everybody does. I mean, it's like, well, I wouldn't say every single person, but a lot of what I came into was very cutthroat. Like, yeah, we'll use you on a job. Nah, sorry, we're not using you. We got, you know, your number and we're going to take it and do it for less or whatever. And I had a lot of reactions to it. And nowadays I can kind of see it coming and learn. Also, I worked with some very serious people as far as like work ethic and creative solutions to getting jobs done. You know, and one of the things my boss set up there, Tommy Ligori, was a great guy. You know, he's like looks at all jobs like a chess game. And so he's thinking about the last move when he makes his first, you know, and that's really stuck with me. And thinking about jobs because he was about efficiency. I mean, we were doing work on some massive projects. And if you go in there with any type of doubt or no plan, you could get hurt, you know, and not like not physically, but you could too, but you could really make some bad decisions that cost you so much money that you can't even stay in business anymore, you know? So I think that for me, those were some of the bigger lessons, you know? One thing I learned too was how important loyalty is and loyalty to the people I work with, like my subs and my employees and vice versa, you know, and how important that is, you know, not that I demand it or anything like that, but I was like, you know, loyalty is kind of an old school way of working and it's really important, you know, because up there, the people that were very loyal to the people they worked with, like Tommy was a big electrical contractor. Um, we worked for a big company, City Carting, very loyal to all those people, and they all used him no matter what all the time, and vice versa. And I saw that, and I saw how important that was to do what you say you were going to do and stand by your word because it's a guaranteed job for as long as everybody's in business or as long as you keep your word and you're loyal. You know, you can only sustain so long messing people over or subs, you know, the people you work with. You don't pay them, you don't do this. They're not going to work for you, but for so long, you know, and then you got to figure something out. So those were kind of the key things. But what I wanted to talk about with all this was I had my first get together with my apprentice from Virginia Tech.
Nice.
Yep, that was really cool. He's in the building program at Virginia Tech, and so he'll be my apprentice for the next 6 months. And we're going to be meeting once a week, and he'll jump in the truck. We'll drive around. I'm going to go down to Blacksburg, meet with him. Uh, um, that was a very cool experience. Um, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was gonna get a kid that kind of's doing this because their parents put them up to it, or a kid that loves construction, or a kid that's just checking the boxes in school. And so I got a kid that is genuinely excited about construction, who's pretty serious. He's got a super cool name. His name's Judge, and I'm like, that's a cool name, dude. Like beast mode, like you're gonna have a successful company one day. Just on your name alone. But he was asking some good questions. You know, it was kind of chaotic because he came in and I've never done this before. So I was like, I don't even know what to do. So I said, let me just get him in here. We'll sit down and talk. And so we just started talking about Omnibuild, how I run it, the size of the company, a little bit about what type of work we do, got into a little bit of the management side of things. He told me a little bit about his background, which was really interesting. His family's in construction as well, which is cool, you know, so he's grown up around it and seen it. He's got a really good head on his shoulders. I think he is going to be very successful just from literally 1 hour talking to him. I could just tell he's got what it takes. And I'm really excited to work with him for the next 6 months. And, you know, he even said, I might just keep working around you and learning if you're all right with that. And I was like, yeah, I'm okay with that, you know, because I learn a lot from doing those types of things, you know. So one of the things that came up that I was just talking about a minute ago was company style, you know. And I was talking about it up north with subs and things like that, and loyalty and commitment and all that stuff. And one of the things I told them was Omnibuild is run a little more old school than most construction companies. A lot of construction companies are one or two or five people and they run a ton of subs. And and I said one of the things that sets us apart from everybody else is that we do use subs for the things that we don't do. But for the most part, the things that like framing, trim, electrical, plumbing, we're doing all that in-house, which gives us a lot of control over a job. And it gives us the ability to like push on a job and hit deadlines. Like if we're having a problem on the job, we can send 50 people and absolutely slaughter that job, and get a big push on it, which somebody that's just hiring subs in general contracting doesn't have that same ability. They're calling another company with their own employees to do all these things for them, which that company can be like, I don't want to work with you anymore. You push me too hard, or you do this, and there's some loyalty, and they handle that loyalty through holding payments, through whatever they do, which is kind of a tough way to do it, and that creates more of that cutthroat mentality. Where and I was trying to tell them that I think that the older school methodology of building is what makes us desirable, is what makes places like the Primlin want to work with us. Because when we're doing a big job in the heart of the facility there and it's coming down to the wire, we can throw whatever the heck we need at it to get it done, and they saw that and they're like, wow, we want to work with you guys from now on. It hasn't gone so well, and so it's like nice to hear that. And I think there's a lot of truth to the old mentality. And I was trying to teach him that, and whether he uses it or not, he's a smart kid. He's grown up in it. He'll do whatever he needs to do for himself. But at the very least, I can share what works for us, and it's my opinion. And if he takes it, great. If he takes pieces of it and uses it, great. If he doesn't use it, that's his decision, But for me, what I learned in that is our company kind of model, it works well. It gives us an edge on other companies that are dependent on subs. That which it leaves you exposed. I understand that you may be working with a sub for 5 years. They don't work for you, man. They really don't. You may think they do, but they don't. And you're relying. I could never. You're relying on somebody that you have very little control is a tough word, but that's essentially what it is over. I don't control my people, but when they show up for work and want to work and get a paycheck, I control where they go. And so that's the difference, and so I was explaining to him, and I felt good about it, and I felt it solidifies to me that we can take most jobs on, and we got the backing that we need,
Power in numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a powerful thing. Drinking some coffee. It's elementary school coffee today.
Elementary school coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, the Floyd E is doing a fundraiser for some things, and so you donate a couple bucks and they give you a cup of coffee in the rider line. So we went up there today.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is cool. The kids get so excited. You pass them a couple bucks and they're like, yeah. And they're like pouring you a cup of coffee. And it's like, this is a feel good situation. You're helping them get something they want at school. And at first I started off being like a little bit annoyed because I forgot what it was. And there was a long line because a lot of people wanted to go to support them. So I'm sitting in line. I'm like, oh, I'll be late for the podcast today, where Dan's usually the late one. No, I'm just kidding. And then I get up there and I'm like, oh, yeah, coffee line.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and then immediately my mood changed and I was like, sweet, this is great. Like, let me get a couple bucks out and help these kids do I think it's for school trips and things like that. It's for the 7th grade. So that was pretty cool. And, dropped my daughter off at school, and we were driving our van today, and she hates the van. She's like, I'm just so embarrassed, and she's trying to explain to me how I need to drop her off so the least amount of people see her. And I'm like, dude, really? Like, nobody's even gonna. But like, I gotta honor the fact that I was a kid once too, and I hated wearing shorts, and so I pulled my socks up as high as I could,
which
and
is way cool.
Yeah. So I don't know why I did that, but those feelings were real for me back then, so they're real for her right now. And try to understand that and maybe never take the van to school again. But
yeah. Well, I'm glad we're still doing the podcast. Episode 6.
Is it episode 6?
And You mentioned maybe you were thinking about quitting already, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, no, I think as somebody, it's been a long week. I didn't really talk about all the struggles this week, but it was a long week. I was tired. I was like, I don't know if I need to do this. Like, what am I doing for it? And then a couple people told me, like, man, we really like it. Like, we're glad you're doing it. So I was like, okay, I'll keep doing it. And then I realized that, like, I get a lot out of that. Like, when somebody comes up and is like, I got a lot out of this, not just about construction, about whatever, it made me feel good. So I was like, yeah, okay, we'll keep doing it. And then, so me and my mom, I'm gonna go pick her up here in a minute, and we're gonna drive to a job in Grayson and see Ed, who's one of my good friends, very, very good friend, and he's also born in the wrong century. I have a lot of friends, and I'm gonna wrap it up with this. It's kind of funny, like they were just by chance born in the wrong century, where Ed should probably be like fighting with Mel Gibson and Braveheart on the battle lines and like drinking blood or something, and instead he's just the most insane tree worker of all time. He's like one of my toughest friends I got. He's super caring, and we would do anything for each other. And he's literally on the side of a mountain. I don't even know how he's doing it, clearing off this view, and it looks amazing. So me and my mom are going down there to take some pictures, show the client what he's been up to, give him some words of encouragement so that he keeps doing it, and give him a high five and all that. So, yeah, I'm excited. And, I enjoy the podcast, and it gives us some time to hang out and talk. I get a lot out of it. While I'm sitting here talking, I'm thinking about the things I should maybe do differently, you know?
Outside of the podcast or on the
Yeah,
podcast?
outside of the podcast in my business, honestly.
Some self-reflection and implementation throughout the
Yeah,
week, and then all ideas you want to talk about, and then there's just not
exactly.
enough time to squeeze it into one per
No,
week.
no, that's why we're gonna do 5,000.
Well, we got
No,
to get people to like it, subscribe.
yeah, it's okay. Maybe not many people are watching it anymore.
Well, you know what they are watching real quick before you go is that National Association of Home Builders video that
Yeah,
we made.
I know.
It's like popping off more than any other
The
video.
Spencer, dude.
Spencer and Luke crushed it down there in
I
Orlando.
got a good look, bro.
You got to check it out, dude. I
I
mean,
might have to
like,
grow a mustache and start playing in a band, and I might get more likes.
well, we think that next time
Yeah.
we want you to go to IBS.
Ah,
We want to follow you around the whole event and just make a deep cut of that thing with you.
I might.
I mean, I
don't do
think
good in big crowds anymore.
they're gonna be in Vegas though, so we can do some action like after hours
No,
slot machines on camera.
I don't do slots anymore.
Oh, good. Okay.
Well, just kidding. I take that back. I might do
We
a
can do
slots.
Cirque du Soleil.
We could go to the desert and go hiking. I'd much rather do that, look for rocks.
That would be sweet.
Yeah. Well, thank you all. And we are gonna keep doing this for a little bit longer, or as long as we feel like you want us to.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll be back. See ya.